We're pleased to welcome now Sally Doty, Director of the Mississippi Office of Broadband Expansion and Accessibility, a.k.a. BEAM, the acronym for the organization. Sally, always good to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for letting me be here.
So you of course, served in the Mississippi State Senate. You come from Lincoln County, and we had a tragedy in that area over the weekend.
We've had a terrible tragedy. Officer Troy Floyd was killed. Troy was working down in Pike County, but he lives in Brookhaven. We know him well. Everybody knows Troy. He's just was such a fine Christian man, and our community is just really mourning his loss, and just send our condolences to his family.
You know, it makes you think, does it not, Sally, that why do these folks do it, man? They don't make any money, and they're constantly living in this fear with this threat, and their families stay stressed out about it all the time. And then it comes to fruition, and you just wonder, we're blessed that anybody's willing to put that uniform, and God bless them and thank them.
Well, Troy loved law enforcement and was in it for, I think maybe 27 years. I can't remember the number, but, you know, he loved the interaction with people, and everybody knew him. If you had a conversation with him, it was encouraging and uplifting, and it's just so hard to believe that this has happened again in Lincoln County. We've had several tragic law enforcement deaths in Lincoln County, and here we have another one.
Well, appreciate you recognizing him and his service, and thanks for talking about that. Yeah, it's a tragedy, and Commissioner Tyndall did a good job, I think, of calling attention to that. Was on with Mr. Gallo, and you could tell it affected him as well as it could and should. Anyone.
Well, Troy, just his family is just, distraught, and we want to send our love and prayers to them.
All right, so let's talk about the broadband expansion and accessibility. How long have you been in this role now? A couple of years?
2 years.
Yeah.
I don't think I can say we're a new office anymore.
That's right. So talk about the genesis of this entity, how this came about, what its mission is.
This office, it was created because Mississippi is going to receive a tremendous amount of federal funding for broadband expansion across the state. That federal funding comes with a lot of strings on it, as you can only imagine. And so our office, a state office was one of the requirements. You needed to have a state broadband office, which I think is a good thing because we did not really have one office that was responsible. There are a lot of different grants for this. So our office is totally responsible for federal broadband funding. For those grant programs that another entity administers, we have their data. We may not administer it, but we know what locations they serve. So it's really a sense of place of truth about how much money there is, what locations are served, what locations are not, and we have the resources to make those determinations. We put a map up that I'm going to talk about in great detail today. So it's been a great thing for the state to have this office.
So money was allocated across the country for this purpose. Mississippi, of course, receiving a good deal. How much is that total, and how much have we invested thus far?
So 2 years ago, we knew that we had money coming, a lot of money coming. Well, it took an entire year for the feds to tell us that we have been allocated $1.2 billion of federal funding. Of that, I hate to say that none of it has gone yet for expansion programs because we are trying to go through all these steps that are required by the feds. We do have some other funding that we are administering, the Capital Projects Fund from ARPA, and so we do have that moving out the door now. So we had $162 million in ARPA funding. I think we have got our awards out for $120 million of it. I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
Have been finalized. So those projects are starting. But when you do a competitive grant program for this, it's pretty complex. Our flow chart has many different zigs and zags on it because you want to make sure that you are careful with that funding, that you're not overbuilding an existing infrastructure.
So explain the process. It's grant structured as a grant program. So those who are eligible to apply for and receive these grants would then use it to build out the broadband infrastructure. This would be the typical carriers that service Mississippi, electric co-ops now, are a big part of that component.
They are a big part of that component. Many of our electric co-ops are already built out to their entire service area. So, then AT&T, C Spire, small carriers, TEC, I don't want to not mention anyone. We probably have about 30 or 35 carriers in Mississippi. So they are the ones applying for these grants, and it's a competitive basis. We put it all out, and they apply through our office.
Okay. And then your office would award the grants. I assume you're scoring their applications. Is that kind of how that works?
We do score their applications. We have a rubric outlined before the application even opens. We have a consultant that we work with that helps us score those applications.
Okay.
And then we make those awards.
Okay. Because you could have situations where more than one carrier would apply for the grant to, as we call in the business, light up the same area, geographic area.
We do, and for that capital projects fund, we did not define the areas. So it was a bit of a mess. We had, people wouldn't, our carriers would not apply for the exact same areas. They would be on top of each other. We kind of had to sort all that out, deconflict it. So that was a real exercise in data. Yeah. So we've gotten that handled. For the BEAD program, we will define those project areas. Okay. And we're going to define them around, first start with supervisor districts with the leeway of we might combine a couple of districts. There might be some sort of natural geographical boundary that might prohibit us from being in a certain district. If there's a river or railroad, it might be more advantageous to put that in a different project area. But we have spent a lot of time developing a map for the state of Mississippi that does show who is served and unserved. Okay. And we have a challenge process, which is really what I want to talk about today, that we opened up August 1st. If you are not receiving good internet and our map says, yes, you are, then this is your opportunity. Okay. Now, if our map shows that you are unserved or underserved, we know it. Your area is going to be in a grant-funded project. What we're trying to catch is those instances, and we know they're out there. Just with this amount of data, you're going to have it. Those instances where our map shows you're served, that you're all good and hunky-dory, but that is not your actual experience as a consumer.
Okay. So what's the source of you populating your map with these people who've got sufficient bandwidth, they're being properly served?
Our source of the map is the FCC data. Okay. Our providers have to report to the FCC, and so we use that data. In fact, we're required to use that data. So we have all of that data on our map, and it shows we had the ability to create our own map, and I wanted to make it as simple as possible. So the first thing we had to do was go ahead and determine where there are areas that already have federal funding. So Mississippi got a tremendous amount of RDOF funding back in 2020, about $450 million. So we cannot give money on top of that. We can't add to that with this BEAD funding. BEAD is the name of the program, the federal program. So first we had to, and I thought the feds might have a better lay of the land here, but we all work together and compile that information. So on our map, if your location's already funded by RDOF or by Reconnect, which is a USDA program, or even our capital projects fund, then you show as green. So green means there's some money there. It's coming. It may not be built yet, but there is an obligation by a provider to build it.
So is the map published on your website?
Yeah. At beam.ms.gov. You can look at it right now. Okay. Click right on it.
So if someone goes there and they view the map and it suggests that, oh, no, you've got adequate coverage here, adequate service, but you don't feel like you do, they should report it to you, or how should that work?
we're going to talk about what those steps.
We got a break right now, folks. We're in the Element Wealth studio. We're coming right back with Sally Doty, Director of the Mississippi Office of Broadband Expansion and Accessibility. Stay with us. William and Brandon wanted to interject this on the C Spire text line. Said, Trump just put out a tweet 23 minutes ago. We were discussing that before we hit the top of the hour. I just checked it. Rhino, did you check it out? According to his Twitter account, what I'm looking at, 42 minutes ago, he posted a video, Make America Great Again video, 2.5 minutes. So maybe he's back. And that's because he's scheduled to live stream an interview right this evening with the CEO.
It starts at 7?
Okay, 7 our time?
I think so.
All right. We're talking to Sally Doty, Director of the Mississippi Office of Broadband Expansion and Accessibility. So you were, just tell the folks about that again. You've got a map where you're tracking coverage of broadband internet access across the great state of Mississippi. Folks can go view that at your website and make sure that it matches their experience.
And this is so important because we cannot distribute federal funding to any area unless it shows as unserved or underserved.
Okay.
So if you show on our map as served, even though that's not your actual experience, I don't know that, and I don't have any other way. The Broadband Office does not have any other way. The feds don't have any way of knowing that, right? And so there could just be a mistake.
Yeah.
There could be some over-reporting. And again, we are required to use data that's collected from the FCC. And there's been a change in the way this data is collected over the last couple of years. It was in kind of shape files, and, it's just like a block. Here, we covered this block. But now it's different, and the reporting is down to the location level.
Okay.
We serve this address, this address, this address. And so there have been some mistakes in that. So we need to make sure that our map is absolutely correct, because once we finalize it after this challenge process, that is the map we're going to use to draw our project areas, and that's where the federal funding will go. So if you are a resident and have some issues with your internet, I need you to look at my map.
Yeah.
Now, if it shows that you are unserved or underserved, we know that. We know it. You're going to be in an expansion area. You don't have to worry about it. If you show as, and those are pink and blue on my map, if you show as green, there's already federal funding attached. There's always already a provider who's coming to you. They just may not be there yet. Mm-hmm. So you can call my office. We can help you figure out who that is if you want to call them. But if you show as gray on my map, you can put your address in. You can put your mama's address in, anybody's address, check it. If you show as gray and there is service that is shown, but that is not your experience, then you need to participate in this challenge process. We have a link to it on our website. It's the same place the map is, our agency website, beam.ms.gov. You click on it. It goes to the resident challenge, and it asks you some questions. We'll walk you through it. It might be an availability challenge. Perhaps you have called and said, hey, I'm ready for service. And the provider says, no, we don't. Even though their website shows that you should be served, they say, oh, no, we don't serve you. So we need to know that.
So it sounds like there's lots of manual inputs that open up the door for mistakes here.
Yeah. And so that's what we are trying to do our best to make this. This is a process that's been mandated by the feds, but we've been trying to. I joke with our software folks all the time and say, I got to Mississippiize this just a little bit. Got to make it a little more Mississippi. So we have tried to make it a difficult process as easy as possible. But I can tell you it is complex.
Yeah.
But if you are someone who knows you need service, and perhaps you could be that person for your neighborhood or for your neighbors and help them participate in this process, call our office. We will be glad to help you. And I say call, and now I don't know if I can give you the number, but if you can email us, info@beam, BEAM, info@beam.ms.gov. We check it all the time, all day.
So, Sally, we got folks. I got Curtis and Biloxi wanting to know, how can I get on the list for broadband in a particular county. In this case, he's asking about Kemper County. So what do you mean by getting on the list? Is there such a thing?
I don't think there is he would have to have his location show as an unserved location.
Okay.
So he needs to go to the map, look at our map, beam.ms.gov, look at our map, and does it show him as unserved? It probably does in Kemper County.
Okay.
And so if it shows him as unserved already, we're coming. There will be federal funding to build out that expansion. If it shows as served and he knows he's not served, that's when he needs to participate in this challenge process. But you need to, I just can't stress enough, go to our map. You can just move the cursor down and click on your address, or you can type your address in. And look at that address. Then over on the and you can do it on your cell phone. Now it's not as great on your cell phone. Turn your cell phone sideways, and there is a little panel over on the left that tells you all the providers that have reported service. And so you can look at that and say they don't provide service,
sure.
or maybe they do. But we need you to look. That's the first thing. Look at the map.
He says it's in gray. Tell us again what that means.
So if it's in gray, that means he is served. There is a provider that is reporting that he is served. They have service to his area. So if his experience is different, if he does not have a reliable connection, he needs to participate in this challenge process. So also on our website, it says resident challenge. Resident challenge. He needs to click on that.
Okay, but if it says served, that could be from a single carrier that is providing service to his address, which means he would need to obtain that service from that carrier, right?
Yeah, that's right. So, I don't know his situation.
Yeah.
So it may be that there is good service offered there. If there might be a fiber service there, and that panel over on the left of the map is going to give you that information about your particular location. So, he may not know that there's some fiber there that he could take advantage of.
Yeah.
So if there is, but now in Kemper County, what I know is probably does not have many options for service. So there may be some issue with who is reporting service there. Right.
He says I'm on it, but I think what you just explained, if it shows up in gray, meaning there is service, you don't have it. You want to know, okay, who do I call to get connected?
Me. You call us.
Okay,
yeah.
but you're saying that you could hover over it and it provides information that says who is providing service to that address, right?
It does. Yes.
And they would contact that carrier and say, "Come hook me up."
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
Well, that's perfect. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, it's over on that left-hand side. It tells you all the carriers that have reported service. There are probably some that report some lower-level speeds too.
Yes. Just got a question on that. So, Stephen Pontotoc, if you have broadband internet, should your devices be buffering? The unfortunate answer to that is there's a lot of factors that could be involved in causing the buffering to occur. Maybe is honestly the answer to that.
Sometimes if you have that high-speed internet coming into your house, but your devices are older, they can't talk to each other.
Yeah.
And so you have to upgrade your device. You can't expect this, new fiber high-speed internet to talk to your old, computer from 6 or 8 years ago. It's probably not going to happen.
Right.
But then again, it could be a mistake.
That's right.
There could be a mistake in how this has been reported. So if you have questions about it, info@beam.ms.gov. We look at that all the time. Our office phone number, maybe I can scare that up here in just a minute.
Yeah.
Now you don't have to know phone numbers anymore. But we have folks that are on the phone all the time that can help walk you through it.
Yeah. And you could run any of the number of tools, speed tests, and so forth, just to see.
We have the speed test there as well on our website, and so you have to do three separate speed tests to challenge your location. So you can do that speed test right there on our website. It has, I believe, 4 different speed test tools all hooked together.
Yep.
So we get a good average
yeah.
of them. So there's no question about it, and it'll tell you what your service is.
So we have Amanda from Pike County says, what about Walthall County, Dexter area, Magnolia Electric Power? Same thing, really. I think the instruction, Sally, is to go to the map, check it out, put your address in, hover over it, find out the color code, and then see what's available. And the other big message is, if it's showing that it's not available, that means you guys know about it, and that's what you're doing.
That is what we're doing. It just unfortunately takes a little bit longer because we have to go through these certain steps, have to do this challenge process before we can move forward to awarding these grants.
Big problem is if it says you got it, but you say, no, nobody offers it here, that's when you need to know to fix that so you can get on it.
That's it.
Got it. Sally, appreciate you coming in. That was great. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Yep. Folks, we're stepping aside for a break. We got half an hour of talk left in the Element Wealth studio, and we're coming right back.